And it's never really broken down by number of people. I mean, it's a bucket of large claims, so we're not that granular, because obviously because of privacy issues. But certainly, the drugs, the prescriptions, those high tier drugs, those can kind of draw up some of the claims. It's not really the medical services that are being provided, it's really the drugs, that are the largest portion of those large claims.
Mr. Chair. Just a question, maybe clarify something. Do our insurance companies, or anyone that insures us medically, do they have, because you always hear the story that people who become very ill, all of a sudden they're asking because they're trying to raise every dime they can. So what we're hearing here is, if you reach a certain amount of money, as far as your health care goes, that is covered, it stops?
No, and let me clarify that.
Okay.
Our contribution or our cost or how they're booking that claim stops. So every claim, everything that's processed for medical treatment or for an RX it's a claim, and then that claim has a dollar value. So what they're saying is they're not going to charge us any more when they're looking at the rate renewal than the $175.
Do our claims, does it really stop at a certain point under a catastrophic type of situation?
Yes.
So it would eventually get to that point for someone who's very ill. Does it ever stop, or are they covered?
It could, depending on if they're on a Blue Cross structure, there could be certain deductibles or co-insurances or co-deductibles that they have to meet, so it could. It varies, so over the course of all of the retiree plans. I really couldn't say that it's across the board, but to some extent, the cost share component, it's never that the coverage stops, it's just that the way the claim is processed and how and who and what pays for it, that changes.
Do they offer, at all, a catastrophic claim, away insurance, that once you do start reaching into those categories, that you're kind of more protected?
So we offer a voluntary benefit that our employees can purchase,
Okay.
like through an Aflac or Allstate. They have the opportunity to buy 3 buckets, additional short-term, and accidental, or they can buy disability. It's accident and disability, and then the critical illness.
Oh, okay.
So they do have a mechanism that can help them with their out-of-pockets with regards to any catastrophic claims. But no one's denied coverage, so I don't want that to be the message.
Right.
It's just that when they're looking at the claims in your renewal, the max amount they would charge us for any claim would be the $175.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Just to clarify a little bit more,
Yep.
I have to make a claim. I have cancer, and then I end up having to get a kidney replaced or whatever. I'm covered.
You're covered.
All the other stuff happened within the administration.
Correct.
I don't have to worry about it.
No, you don't. No, you don't have to worry about it. It's just, it is part of the discussion for rate renewal. Just like an auto carrier, they basically are looking at how much they're collecting in premiums, how much the claims are, and they're basically rating you as a client. And it's, I know health insurance, we're dealing with people, and it's not a numbers game, but unfortunately, when people say, well, why do our rates keep going up? Or why are they different from year to year? Because it really is based on your claims history. And that's why we're trying to do some of the things like Teladoc. Because when people call Teladoc, it doesn't go on our claims history. So it's basically, our employees are still getting the care and the service and maybe the prescription over the phone, but it doesn't hit our claims or our utilization. We're trying to make the ER not the first stop. Maybe it's a very necessary stop, but it's certainly not the first stop. Let's try an urgent care. And in most cases, we're trying to mirror co-pays, because an ER visit can be $2,000 to $3,000, and that's not if you're not even admitted. That's just you were there for a couple hours. So we're just trying to make sure that everybody, and this kind of summary we go over with all the union groups as well. We'll probably have to do kind of a conference call this year because we won't be gathering for a big meeting, but we do want everyone to be involved in this conversation so that everyone understands where the rates are coming from and how they're being, and how they came to a 12%. They just didn't throw a number at a board. They are literally looking at our utilization. Couple other things I'll just highlight in here, and then I really we'll let you kind of absorb this packet, and I'm certainly available by email, phone, whatever, if you have questions, but we don't have to go through all of it tonight. We do basically, when Jason was talking about the rebates for the insurance, there's a page that says RSR history at the top. And that will basically kind of identify how those rebates are being provided to us. The model that we're on for Blue Cross Blue Shield, we basically have what's called a rate reserve account. So it does help mitigate increases. An 11% increase could have been a 20% increase, but we do have these rate reserve accounts in place with some of our plans. This is only on the Blue Cross side. So basically, it's our money, and it's just kind of helping us to maybe buffer the increases so that from year to year, if you do have those spikes, and it's a one-time situation, that you kind of have this kind of holding pattern to kind of help absorb so that your rates aren't flying through the roof double digits year after year. Because last year we did have a decrease for Blue Cross Blue Shield. I think the year before that we were flat. So it's all in how coverage and utilization is trending, and people have health insurance, that it's there for them. They're going to use it, and we want them to use it. It's just that this is how this is relating to our renewals. So we are experiencing probably a higher utilization year, and I think that's going to continue, obviously, with people seeking services under the pandemic. It's going to be expected. But we do anticipate receiving some of that rate reserve back, and that is the number that Jason was referring to. And on the bottom of that page, it just kind of breaks down all of the premium savings that we've had over the course of the time that we've been in the high deductible plan. So that kind of gives you a history of that. The next two pages kind of go over just some rate history for your viewing pleasure, and then we do have a sheet on Teledoc just to kind of tell you how many employees are using it, how long it's taking them by average, and what that does for savings for us from a year-to-year basis. I'll even kind of tell you on the bottom right-hand corner if they had a visit with a prescription, if they had it without, top diagnoses. And then there's just some additional counts by all of our plans, so you can kind of see how many people are in Blue Cross Blue Shield, how many are in HAP, how many are in BCN. This is this kind of two-tone color page, just so that you have that information. And as I said, I know it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of different aspects of healthcare. I'm happy to, if you have any questions along the road, we will probably be coming to council officially with renewals in May. We're going to kind of move our open enrollment period for our employees just based on everything kind of that's going on. We usually do it the first 2 weeks of May, but I think we're going to move that to the first 2 weeks of June, just to, kind of once things maybe calm down and we're back into the flow of regular operations. The only other thing with regards to the fringe benefits I just wanted to cover is that we do have a Medicare reimbursement provision for the retirees, and that does get paid out to certain bargaining groups who we reimburse their Part B, and just as you know, that's an ever-growing number. It's not something that we can control because the federal government sets that reimbursement amount every year. So we won't know what those amounts for 21 are until probably December, when some of the new notices start rolling in from the retirees. Any other questions on the health care?
Just one.
Sure.
Are all of the plans high deductible, or just some?
No,
of them?
not all of them. The Blue Care Network is just straight fully insured.
Okay.
It's such an affordable plan that we really don't need to wrap it.
Mm-hmm.
The HAP plans are high deductible. There are some Blue Cross Blue Shield plans there's a small fraction that aren't. And then obviously our Medicare eligible retirees cannot be on the HRA. So those would be separate and distinct. And, you know, sometimes when they have a spouse or a dependent who still needs to be on a fully insured plan, we have to keep them on a fully insured plan, so until we can kind of move them all.
Okay, any other questions for Sheila on the employee fringe side? If not, that is it for Sheila, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
Next up, we